Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about protecting your finances, preserving wealth, and how do we do that? Well, I believe there are 7 things that we really need to be aware of, which I'm going to share with you today. Financial changes are most definitely on their way. I think the question is when. So without further ado, let's jump straight into this video, and I'm excited to share this with you. Everyone, please listen in because changes are on their way and we need to adapt and react. But before we get into this, guys, please hit the thumbs up, drop me a comment, and do hit subscribe because I'm really hoping that I can share this video with as many people as possible because I think it's going to offer a lot of value and a lot of insight to the things that might be on the horizon, just around the corner. So let's jump into it. We all know that the markets are changing, so this is key for us to make decisions. The property market, the stock market, the crypto sector, gold and silver, and also investments as a whole, and just the economy has changed so much due to many things, but COVID being one of them that has been the biggest impact to things changing. Now, I'm aware of 7 things which basically result to a lot of my investment decisions. I make decisions being educated and doing my own research, kind of knowing what might or might not happen. And that's how I make my decisions. I go in with my eyes open. And that's the whole point of this video, is that you sit back and you think about the things that could happen. Therefore, your decisions that you make now are also built into what might or might not happen. So I'm going to share with you these 7 ways, ultimately, which hopefully can protect your wealth. You can make good decisions and also be a little bit more informed. And yes, I am speculating a bit, and please do remember these are my own views and opinions. So let's have a look at the first point, and that is the banking system. The banking system and what I believe we need to be aware of, okay? We're seeing all-time low interest rates at 0.1%. So what I want you to be aware of, and things that I certainly sit down and think about, is when are we going into negative interest rates? You know, when are we actually going to start losing money on the cash that we hold within a bank? Well, I don't know when it will be, but I do believe it will happen. And how it will happen, I don't know. Whether it will come by way of fees being charged to us, even just to have a current account savings, ISA perhaps, or will the banks just be so obvious just to say, look, we've hit negative interest rates. With all the QE that's been going on, the bounce back loans, the furlough scheme, the ongoing situation with COVID, we've got to a stage where we can't pay any plus, interest rate. It's now gone into the minus. So that's a concern. So what can we do? Well, I spread across multiple banks. I'll never hold cash all in one bank, not even 2. It will be across multiple. So perhaps at the moment, if you're storing just within one bank, it would really be an idea to look at other current accounts. Perhaps nip onto which.co.uk, look at what banks are good for your needs and start spreading, mitigating your risk. Because look, Northern Rock collapsed. It could happen again. You'd be foolish not to think that, it's safe as houses a bank and nothing can go wrong, because it has gone wrong before and it could happen again. Especially with the current economy and the financial situation, we just don't know where we're going. So that's the banking system. Also be mindful of the apps that you use and the features involved, because every time I open up my banking apps, there is always a new feature. I don't know if you see this as well. Leave me a comment if you do. But there's always these in-house money management feature systems that they're offering me, where they'll break down my money, where it's going, what it's doing. And although it looks very pretty on the outside and you think that's a really cool feature, really it comes down to having a database and management and control over your finances, knowing where it's going. Because when we look at cash, ultimately cash is untraceable. There's so much cash out there in the economy that the government and the banking system can't have control over that. And I would go as far to say that eventually the government and the powers that be will not want us to hold cash, because there's no traceability. You can't use it. The days of being able to go into a car showroom and pay with a briefcase full of cash on a cart are long gone. The manager would report you to the bank. They would have to take it and check for AML checks, anti-money laundering checks. So the days of cash will be on their way out, I truly believe. So these are things to be aware of. The other thing that I want to move on to now is to now talk about clauses that might be brought within the banks. Now, have you been recently to the bank or in the past and you've gone to withdraw out a certain amount of cash And when you went to withdraw it, you were asked questions that just weren't relevant, because I had a personal experience where I went to a bank, I don't know, a few months ago, and I had to withdraw out a certain amount of cash. Now, I understand that we have to sign off for a certain amount of cash, totally get it. But the questions that I was being asked were just unreasonable. And when I questioned the lady who was serving me, why do you need to know all these questions? She said, I was just making general chit chat. Now, to me, general chit chat is asking how the weather is, not asking everything about me and why I was withdrawing the cash. It was totally unreasonable, totally uncalled for. And also, it's completely legitimate. I have nothing to worry about. Therefore, I was, a little bit taken back due to the questions. That then sparks a bit of uncertainty to where we're going with our cash that we have in the bank. Will we ever get to a stage where clauses will be brought in? Because look, let's face it, there's been so much QE that if all of us went to our bank now, and I've said it before, and we withdrew all of our cash that we had, do you think the bank will honestly pay us all out on the same day? I highly doubt it. I don't think that the bank has as much cash as we, digitally hold it on, our apps and our banking system, that they actually physically have that amount. So I believe at some point we'll have clauses brought in where if you want to withdraw a certain amount, you have to meet like a certain criteria, whether that be a time period or you have to sign off and you basically have to announce what you need to use it for, which is totally wrong. It's our money, it's hard earned. We should be able to do what we want with it without having to go through hoops and sign off on it. So that's something else to be aware of. My next point would be, tying into this, would be cash. Okay, so we've got to the point now where cash is becoming devalued. We'll get to a stage, I truly believe, that it will be worthless. So how can we protect ourselves against that? Well, we could be looking at other assets such as gold, because look at it this way. If we had a safe and we had £10,000 in cash and £10,000 in gold, gold will always hold that value. Gold is a safe haven. It will always go up. Go and check out a chart over the last 20 years. In fact, what I'll do is I'll pop up a chart here, look at the 10 years, it's gone up. It's always increased in value. Whereas cash, we might get to the situation where cash just becomes worthless. So we pull out both of these assets, essentially, the physical cash and our gold. One's worthless, we can't do anything with it, or the currency has changed. But the gold, however, is God's money. It is that insurance policy. I could liquidate my gold into any currency, anywhere in the world, and I'll be able to trade that in, sell it off, and then go on to use it. Whether we go to digital currency, whether it was a different type, digital, whatever it is, the gold will always be that safe haven. So we need to really be aware of the fact that there's so much QE. At what point will our cash be devalued? So we need to get this even balance of what we hold within the bank to what we hold within our safes at home or physical cash that we're holding. Just be aware of that. And also we may get to a stage where the traceability of cash can't be governed, it can't be monitored. Therefore, we just need to ensure that we're still holding cash, because the good thing about cash, although it will be devalued, I truly believe, is that we're able to be liquid with it. We can make quick decisions. If we still hold physical cash as well as in the bank, we can take opportunities, we can take business ventures, we can be quick to the mark. So cash is still good to hold. It just has to be in proportion. What's in the bank, what's as a precious metal, what's in digital currency, and what do we actually physically hold? Okay, so let's have a look at the next point. Okay, so it brings me on to what we just touched on there, and that's gold. Gold is the safe haven. It truly is God's money, and it will be and always will be my insurance policy, because no matter what, it preserves and it protects wealth, because it's rare. It can only be produced every so often, and for decades and decades and decades, when we look at the charts and we go back over these 10, 20, 30 years, look at the value increase. Yes, we see fluctuation, and currently we're in a bit of a dip, so great time to buy now. But to me, it really does preserve the wealth. I can liquidate it to any trusted broker, gold dealer. And then what I can do is I can liquidate it into the current currency at the time. I can liquidate it into Bitcoin, and I can use it, but it gives me options. Whereas if my cash became worthless, well, I'm stuck with just essentially paper. The gold isn't the case. So do think carefully about buying gold, do your own research, but I certainly think it is one way that you can go ahead and protect your finances, especially in the uncertain times that are ahead and the financial changes. Gold really is a safe haven, and do go and do your own research. So the pension market, what's happening with pensions? In my opinion, my views on pensions are mixed. I believe we're in this kind of happy medium with pensions, that yes, we've still got to pay into them. It's still wise to contribute, and if there were no issues in the future, then we've got a pension sitting there at the end. My concerns around pension are the date for us to even withdraw a pension is getting later and later. It's at 66, it's going to be put back to 67. How, at what point does this go to where it's in the 70s? I think if you're 30 plus, you're going to still be within that kind of safe bracket of achieving that full state pension. I think for those of us who are between that kind of 18 to 30 range, where pensions, I think we're going to see a huge amount of change, where we may get to a point where we might not be able to draw down till we're 70 plus. Now, with all the QE that is going on and all the debt, my view and what I would say to be aware of is at what stage would the government get and the banking system were in so much debt that they need to basically draw down and borrow against all the pensions that are partnered, all these companies that are partnered with the government and the banking system, that they start drawing down on all of our pensions. And essentially when we come to draw them down, they're not there. What will be replaced as the state pension? We don't know. There's so much uncertainty, so it's definitely not wise just to rely on your pension, but I would definitely contribute and hedge your bets on contributing to a pension, because at the end of the day, if we get there and we win and it's there, brilliant, we've got another source of income. However, please do not hedge your bets that they are going to be there. I would go in with the thought and the thought process that pensions won't be there for us that are between 18 and 30. We're not going to see them. I think there are so many changes around the corner financially that our pensions they're on the firing line, and I think that we would struggle to not only live off, because I don't think enough of us have the time to even put enough away purely into a pension, but I think that we also need to really make that decision now, that we need to be looking at other ways of making money, generating an income and creating our own pension. So just be really aware that our pensions, for those of us that are between that 18 and 30, they might not be there. And again, this is just me speculating in my own views, so don't take this as gospel, but I'm not preparing or betting that I'm going to see my pension. So I'm making choices now, other investments that are going to pay me rather than my pension. If I get my pension, happy days. Let's look at the next point. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Will this ever be the new money? Well, I don't know, and I'm not an expert. But what I am aware of and what I would like to share with you is it's definitely worth researching. Everything globally is moving forward. Everything financially is adapting. Things are changing. Therefore, we would be foolish not to research and look into the possibility of Bitcoin. I personally will be investing into Bitcoin in the very near future, which I will keep you posted on. But when we look around at every industry, what's it doing? It's moving forward. Nothing is going back. We are in a state where our current currency is devaluing. And I think those that are behind the blockchain and Bitcoin and the whole crypto sector are seeing this as an opportunity. It's very volatile at the moment. And if I were to invest, well, I will be investing in Bitcoin. I'm not in it for the short term. I'm not in it for the trading. I'm not in it for the highs to sell and then buy at the low. I'm in it for the long term, because I believe that eventually this will become currency. I will eventually be able to trade, if need be, my gold into Bitcoin. So I'm kind of creating this diversified portfolio that if things do change, I'm protecting myself. So I'd rather be involved than not be involved. I'd rather hedge my bets in Bitcoin and buy a certain amount for if it ever does change, and it puts me in a position where I can capitalize because I bought Bitcoin early. Obviously not as early as many others, but I will be involved now. So don't miss out, do your own research, because I do believe that we do need to be aware of Bitcoin and the changes that are going to be on the horizon when it comes to digital currency. And when we look around, the economy is in such a bad state financially. How can it continue with the cash that we have at the moment? So like I said before, it's great to have cash, gives us options, but What are we looking about at the future? What's going to be happening with digital currency? Do your own research, look into it, but I'm certainly getting involved. Are you involved in the stock market? If not, why not? Because again, this is about protecting wealth. We're in uncertain times, and I believe that when we see a drop in one market, such as gold, stock market will rise. We need to diversify, not keep all our eggs in one basket. And I would recommend doing your own research, but looking at strong ETFs, index funds, S&P 500, the FTSE 100, or, such things as the Vanguard, their life strategies. We need to be involved in multiple markets to reduce the risk. We're going to see a lot better returns and protecting our wealth over the long term than we would essentially leaving our money in the bank to devalue. Always make sure you're in an ETF that you understand, an industry that you enjoy and like and perhaps have been involved in. And ultimately, that's another way that we can protect our finances. Okay, so the property market and preserving wealth. Well, it's one of the best asset classes. I'm sure many of you know that. However, yes, it can be hard to get onto the property ladder because you need large amounts of capital. Don't let that deter you from trying to be involved, because there are other ways through joint ventures, using private investment and very unique structures of actually getting onto the property ladder. It's one of the strongest ways we can really preserve wealth. And what I would do is definitely take a look at the market at the moment, because I do believe we're in a bubble. And if you are thinking of property as an asset class, which I think is brilliant, by the way, I'm certainly going to be looking at moving more into the property for next year as an asset class more than I have done this year, is because I think we're going to be seeing a lot of landlords who have gone through pain this year, 2020, due to COVID, and they've been emotionally attached and they've held on hoping that they might see a better 2021, which might be the case. We just don't know where we are in the market. So be aware that there could be some fantastic discounts next year, and the asset class as a whole is still one of the strongest places to hold your cash. And if you're one of those where you've got excess amount in the cash in the bank and you just haven't moved it yet, this time really is now to consider perhaps moving that into an asset like property. If not, certainly do consider gold, because these are both strong asset and they're physical assets, and they've only proven their worth over years and years, where their value has always gone up. So that's my final point. Be aware of all of these and just make your own decisions. Always be educated, be in the know, because we are in unprecedented times with uncertain changes around the corner. And I'd rather be informed than not informed. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do give me a thumbs up, a subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment and I'll be sure to get back to you. And until the next video, thanks for joining me if you've got this far, and I will speak to you in the next video.